Section 27 of Monday Tales. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Monday Tales by Alphonse Daudet. Translated by Marion McIntyre. Section 27. A Bookkeeper. "Brr, how foggy it is!" said the good man as he stepped into the street. He pulled up his collar quickly, drew his muffler over his chin, and with bent head and hands buried in his back pockets, he set out for his office, whistling as he went. And foggy indeed it was. In the streets this fog is not so noticeable. In the heart of a great city it vanishes as quickly as the snow does. Roofs intercept it, walls absorb it. Some of it finds a way into the houses every time the door is opened. It clings to the steps, making them slippery and the railings humid. The rolling of carriages, the coming and going of passers-by, those poor wayfarers of early morning always in haste, cut the fog, scatter it, and carry some of it onward. It clings to the shabby, scant clothing of petty clerks on their way to work. It clings to the waterproofs of shop-girls, to their flimsy little veils, to the big oilcloth boxes in which they carry their work. But on the still deserted quays, upon the bridges, the banks, the river, rests a heavy mist, opaque, immovable. Through it the sun is rising yonder, behind Notre Dame, its light dimmed as that of a watch-lamp seen through a globe of ground glass. In spite of the wind and the fog, the man of whom we have already spoken passes along the quays, never for a moment leaving them. He could have taken another road, but the river appeared to have some mysterious attraction for him. It afforded him a species of delight to walk along the parapets, graze those stone railings worn by the elbows of many a lounger. At that hour, in such weather, loungers were few. But here and there a woman carrying a bundle of linen rests against the parapet, or some poor devil, leaning upon his elbows, hangs over the water with an air of weariness. And the man, as he passes on, looks about, watching them curiously, and then casts a glance towards the water as if some hidden chain of thought linked these people with the river itself. And the river was not a cheerful sight that morning. The fog rising between its waves seemed to make it heavier. The dark roofs rising above its banks, the reflection of all those irregular chimney-tops, leaning and cutting each other on the river's surface, made one think of some dismal factory located at the bottom of the Seine, and sending all its smoke aloft to Paris in fog. But our worthy man seems to find nothing sad in the sight. The moisture penetrates every portion of his body, he has not a dry thread of clothing, but he continues on his way whistling, a happy smile upon his lips. Long ago he became accustomed to the Seine fogs. And then he knows that when he reaches his destination he will find his pleasant fur-lined foot-warmer, a roaring stove awaiting him, and the warm little plate in which he makes his breakfast every morning. These are the pleasures of an employé. Such are the only joys of these imprisoned and stunted beings whose whole lives are passed in one little corner. "I must not forget to buy some apples," he says to himself again and again, and whistling, he hurries on. You never saw any man go to his labor more gaily. The quays, and still the quays. Then comes a bridge, and now he has passed to the rear of Notre Dame. At this point of the island the fog is thicker than ever. It rises on three sides at once, partly obscures the high towers, gathers at the corner of the bridge as if there were something there it would conceal. The man pauses. This is the place. Not too plainly may be distinguished sinister and shadowy figures, squatting upon the sidewalk, who seem to await something. And, as at the railings of hospitals and squares, here also may be seen flat baskets outspread with their rows of cakes, oranges, and apples. Oh, those beautiful apples! So fresh, so rosy with the mist upon them. He fills his pockets with them, smiling at the vendor, who sits shivering, her feet upon her foot-stove. Then he opens a door shrouded in fog, and crosses a little yard where a cart is standing harnessed. "Anything for us?" he asks as he passes. The wagoner replies, "Yes, sir, and something pretty this time." He enters his office quickly. How comfortable and warm it is within! In a corner the stove roars. His foot-warmer is in its place. His little armchair awaits him in the brightest part of the room by the window. The fog curtains its panes, making a subdued, even light, and big books with green backs stand in a methodical row upon their rack, a genuine notary's cabinet. The man breathes freely. He is at home. Before setting to work, he opens a great closet, brings out his lustrine sleeves, which he puts on carefully, draws forth a little red earthenware plate and some lumps of sugar, which came from some café, and begins to peel his apples, gazing about him with a satisfied air. And surely it would have been impossible anywhere to find a cheerfuller, brighter office, or one more orderly in every arrangement. But there was one singular thing, and that was the sound of water, which one could not help hearing on every side. Water everywhere, enveloping you as though you were in the cabin of a ship. Below lay the Seine, roaring, dashing against the arches of the bridge, breaking in billows of foam at that point of the Ile, always encumbered with planks and piles and wreckage. And even within and around the office there was the drip, drip of water thrown in pitcherfuls, the splash of water washing heavily upon something within. Why, I know not, but the very sound of that water made one shiver just to hear it. One felt that it fell upon a hard floor, upon great slabs, upon marble tables, which made it still colder than before. What, then, do they wash again and again in this strange house? What ineffaceable stain is here? At moments, when the splashing ceases below, drops are heard falling one by one, as after a thaw or a heavy rain. One might think that the fog gathered upon roofs and walls were melting from the heat of the stove and trickling ceaselessly. But the man takes no notice of it. He is completely absorbed in his apples, which begin to sing in the red earthenware plate, exhaling a delicate perfume of caramel, and that delightful song prevents his hearing the drip of the water, the sinister drip of the water. "Whenever you choose, recorder," speaks a husky voice from a side room. He glances at his apples and leaves the room regretfully. Where is he going? Through the door, which opens for a minute, comes a chilly and unwholesome breath, smelling of reeds and marshes, and there is seen what seems to be a glimpse of clothes drying upon a line, faded blouses, smocks, a calico robe hanging at full length by the sleeves, and dripping, dripping. That part disposed of, he returns to his office and places upon his table a few small articles soaked with water, and, chilled, he turns towards the stove to warm his hands, which are red with cold. "Anyone must be crazy to choose such weather as this," he says with a shiver. "What ails them all, I wonder?" And as he is warm again, and his sugar has begun to form little crystal drops around his plate, he sits down to eat his breakfast upon a corner of his desk. As he eats, he opens one of his registers and turns its leaves complacently. The big book is so well kept. Ruled lines, entries in blue ink, minute reflections of gold powder, blotters at every page, care and order apparent everywhere. It seems that his business is thriving, for the worthy man's face wears a satisfied air, like that of an accountant after an annual stock-taking that has turned out well. And while he turns over the pages of his book with delight, the doors of the side chamber open, the sound of many footsteps is heard upon the flagstones, and voices saying in a half whisper as if in church, "Oh, how young she is! What a pity!" And they elbow and push forward, whispering still. What does it matter to him that she is young? Tranquilly finishing his apples, he sets before him the articles he brought in a little while ago: a thimble full of sand, a pocket-book with a single sou in it, a little pair of rusty scissors, so rusty that they will never be used again, oh, never again, the little book which registers her as working girl, its leaves glued together, a tattered letter, almost effaced, of which may be deciphered a few words: "The child," "No money," "A month's nursing." The bookkeeper shrugs his shoulders with an air that seems to say, "We have heard that before." Then he takes his pen, brushes away carefully the crumbs of bread which have fallen upon his ledger, makes a movement preparatory to placing his fingers in good position, and in his best hand writes the name he has just deciphered upon the mouldy book: Félicie Rameau, burnisher, age 17 years. End of section 27. Recording by Linda Johnson.